for more on the U.S.-Iran crisis. Let's hear from Joseph Humire. He's the executive director of the Center for a Secure Free Society. First, his reaction to President Trump's address to the nation today.
I think it had a double message. It had a message of strength, kind of consistent with U.S. actions and U.S. posture on Iran, showing that he began the speech without even saying hello or good afternoon or good morning to the reporters. He actually began the speech by saying that the United States will never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, which I thought was a very strong statement. But at the same time, as he progressed in the speech, he opened the door for Iran. He essentially gave the Iran what he calls an off-ramp so that they can be able to look for de-escalation and potentially a negotiation with the United States, especially when it comes to their nuclear ambitions. And so I think it had a dual message, one message of strength to show that the United States will not tolerate U.S. aggression, which I think he's already made the message with the attack on General Soleimani. But he also made a diplomatic message, a kind of a diplomatic opening to have talks with Iran. Now, to the question on the sanctions, I think, this has kind of become like a reflex, I think, of the United States government in general and this administration in particular, where whenever something happens, I think the auto reflex is to just issue more sanctions. Sanctions have been a part of the president's strategy since the beginning of his presidency, as part of the max pressure campaign against Iran. But at a certain point, I don't think the sanctions are going to have the same effect. I think there's a diminishing returns on some of the sanctions. And I think that it's clear that Iran, the sanctions don't lead necessarily to Iran's changing of their behavior. I mean, we've issued sanctions on Iran in different iterations for the last 40 years, but Iran's maintained kind of the same behavior in that same period of time.
President Trump also said today Iran appears to be standing down, but Iran's supreme leader says the missile strikes on those bases in Iraq were not enough. He called them a slap in the face to the U.S. So should we expect to see more attacks from Iran?
I think we should definitely remain vigilant. I think Iran will continue to find ways to attack the United States. I think the actions that were taken last night, the ballistic missile attack on military bases in northern and western Iraq, were more than anything an internal message from within Iran. There's a lot of hardliners in Iran that wanted a war immediately with the United States, a conventional kinetic war with the United States. And I think in some ways the supreme leader was appeasing that crowd. It's also kind of a manipulation of the Iranian people, because I've heard reports of them saying, Iran, the supreme leader of the regime, saying that they killed Americans in this attack, that 20, 30 Americans died. And obviously there's limited to information within Iran, where the regime controls the internet. And I believe that we know that not to be the case. There were no casualties. There were no U.S. casualties. There were not even Iraqi casualties or coalition forces. So I think this was a bit of a manipulation on the part of Iran, but I do believe they will continue to attack the United States. I think the inflection point when Iran really gets serious about wanting to go to war with the United States, I don't think it'll look or take the form of a conventional military-to-military conflict in the Middle East, in Iraq. I think they're going to activate their global terror network worldwide.
And stuck in the middle of this U.S.-Iran feud has been Iraq. It's where that missile strike occurred last night. What's your take on the Iraqi situation, how they've responded to this feud between U.S. and Iran?
So that's a good, interesting point, because I think, stuck in the middle of this is the U.S.-Iraqi alliance, U.S.-Iraqi coalition, which has been there since 2003 in effect. But and essentially over the last few years on the counterterrorism side, we've joined forces to go after the Islamic State. I think at this point, the United States has to seriously consider our interests in Iraq. Is it a counterterrorism mission? Is it an anti-axis strategy toward Iran? Is it democracy building or trying to help Iraq become more peaceful and prosperous? What is the actual mission? What is our interest in Iraq? And if we don't have that clearly defined, then I think it might be time to leave Iraq. That said, it does matter how we leave. I think Iran obviously wants us to leave Iraq, but they want us to leave looking in a matter of weakness, looking like as if the United States is giving up or we're defeated. And I think it's important that we show that we're not defeated, that we're leaving on our own accord, and the departure will be in orderly and timely fashion.
Joseph Humire, appreciate your time, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.